both groups. Just if you can share it
Okay.
in the main group and in the cafe group, and
Okay.
then start the intro as well if you can,
Okay.
if you're able.
I am working on it. Okay.
New England won 10-7.
New England won.
Yes. Patriots in the Super Bowl again.
Yay! I'm sticking with Knicks. Are you a basketball fan, Jess?
I've
At
never
all?
been to a Knick game, and it's something I want to do. I'm going to make that a thing. I'm not a sports guy. I was always music and movies, but
Okay.
I would go
Right.
to see the Knicks. Now, as I
Yeah.
get older, I have more appreciation, more patience.
I know you're a New York guy, so just
Yeah.
Not showing you live yet, Ryan.
I'm live on my page. I just
I
shared
see
it
it
to
on your page.
I just shared it to the Nut page. Now I'm going to share it to the cafe page.
Jesse, we missed you at Light of Day.
I know. I missed being there. That would have been nice. But I heard it was great, and I saw some clips. Bruce with Gary Bonds and Willie. Yeah, it seemed
Yeah.
like a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
High energy.
All
I
right,
like
we're on.
James Maddox a lot. James Maddox a good songwriter.
Yes.
Jesse, I was lucky. The first year I went there was 2020, right before COVID hit, and you played that night, and Bruce showed up that night.
Yeah, we did Meet Me at the End of the World, maybe, and made Broken Radio that night.
Broken Radio, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
at the Paramount.
everything went crazy.
Yeah.
That was the last thing any of us were able to do for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
All right, Howie, we are good to go. I'm gonna do the
Yep.
intro,
Yep.
and then we are good to go. Well, there we go.
Wow, I felt that was like
You killed it, Howie. That was all Howie's doings. He did the
that was.
technical side of that.
I have a lot too much time on my hands right now, but that was fun. I want to welcome everyone back to the Spring Nut Cafe on this snowy and blistery East Coast night, and it's hope everyone is safe and staying warm. And what better way to keep you company in your houses than to bring another edition of Spring Nut Cafe? And we didn't just bring you a regular Spring Nut Cafe. We brought you. I mean, we have to keep upping our game here. And then we bring someone. Wow. I mean, this one is special for me. I know we're all big fans in Spring Nuts of this gentleman and this extremely talented, inspiring artist, Mr. Jesse Malin.
Hello. Hey, everybody.
All right.
All right. I'm in New York, and it's snowy and crazy, but it's good to be with you people. It's my first time, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just ready for anything.
Jesse, we want to talk to you. I got tons of questions for you. We obviously want to talk about what you got going on now, which is a ton. But we're here to talk about anything you want to talk about. So if we don't ask you anything, there's something you want to talk about, by all means, this is your table that you can talk to anytime. So
All right. Well, I'm actually at my table too. So.
Well, if you don't mind, we'll kind of start out with what's going on right now, which is very exciting for a lot of people, including yourself, I'm sure. So you were just on at the Gramercy Theater with Silver Manhattan. And I wanted to ask you about that, about how that came about, and what that was like for you, both mentally and preparing that, and physically, obviously, with what you've been dealing with.
Yeah, well, it came out of necessity. I mean, I didn't plan to have a play and do a 7-night run workshop for 6 months or whatever it's been, 5 months. I probably would just be on the road. But in 2023, as probably most of you guys know, I had this rare spinal stroke, and I had a whole year of touring booked and a whole bunch of anniversary stuff for my first album. And I was in the hospital for 3 months, which led to uh, being in a clinic in Argentina for 6 months and all kinds of stuff just to do anything to get better. And it's still a big process. I'm paralyzed in my legs, and it's just, I was a runner and vegetarian and never did drugs, and was pretty healthy 55-year-old guy, or 56, I guess. And then this is like out of the blue. So eventually, through time, I wanted to get back on stage again and play music with my band. And thank the Lord, my voice and my hands were strong. But the kind of music I do, I really want to stand up and, I don't know. It wasn't. I always see it as sit down stuff. Maybe a couple songs, but I kept working on it, and I was working in a lot of physical therapy. And my manager and my agent booked the Beacon Theater for one night, which quickly became 2 nights, as a return show and benefit concert with Sweet Relief, who were really helpful. And the music community, my fans and people, just came together like nothing I ever expected. I've always believed in people and the power of all of us. And PMA, positive mental attitude, and friendship and community. But this was just mind blowing in the best way. And as much as life stinks, even on a good day, sometimes with this situation, it was unreal. And we did the 2 shows, and I was able to stand up for a few songs. I worked with my therapist to find a way to, like, with braces under my pants, get my body up onto that mic stand. And I wanted to do that for a song or two. And I didn't know if I was going to fall in front of 3,000 people. But we did the shows, and a lot of other artists were so generous with their time. And my friends that are close to me were worried the next day after the 2 shows, like, what's going to happen? Is he going to get really depressed? Like, he's got nothing. And I was okay, because it was still like so much love and support and mind blowing. So I called my manager, and I said, we're going to call another friend manager and say, what should we do next? Like, what do we do? And sure enough, that phone rang from this manager in LA. He's a friend of mine. His name's Jonathan, and he handles a lot of great bands that I love, and he's pretty successful. And I said, I was going to call you and say, what do I do? Like, after this, like, I can't tour. I can't really get around. And that's really how we make our money. Records don't make money, anymore. Everybody gets its downloads and free stuff. Spotify, you get pennies. So he said, what about a residency, like in New York? And he started to list all these people that did it, like Les Paul and Buster Poindexter, David Johansen, Woody Allen. And he said, the biggest level is Billy Joel. And I said, yeah, well, I don't have those kind of hits, or that kind of fan base. And he said, no, but you got your book coming out, which he had read, which is coming out. I'll get to that. And you got your stories, and you got a lot of albums, and make it like a New York thing. Like, people come to you, let the world come to you. So I liked it, but I wasn't sold. I didn't want it to be, run out of stories, and I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and I came up with this idea of this play, Silver Manhattan. And some of it would be based on my book, but some of it would deal with what I've been through now, and the need and want to get onto the stage, and what it's like to see my city from a not walking position, from, just everything. So I incorporated my journey of the last 2.5 years, my childhood stuff, coming of age, just making things happen, the music community and my life, with some humor. And I don't know. And suddenly I started to look for directors and a writer, and I found a producer, and they were like, well, to make this happen, we need investors. I'm like, what? I'm doing this to make a living, because it's all I could do. What is this, Mel Brooks, the producers? We need investors. And like, some people got involved, and they knew how to do this, because it's not just playing a show and you tell some stories. It's like there's a writer, there's a director, there's a lighting designer, there's even some actors involved. And in my case, I can't just carry my guitar into a theater. Like, I need help for a lot of things, which stinks. But long story I'm telling here is, we came up with the idea. I had it all in my head, but I didn't have it written. Found a director, found a great person to write it with. And the writer partner is this woman, Lauren Ludwig. I interviewed a bunch of people, the director, Ellie Heyman. And I think I picked people that I really liked personally, but then in the end, I really like what we came up with. And the 7 shows at Gramercy were what they call workshop. So it's a, you're changing it, and the show's changing, the songs are changing, and the script is changing. So it's a lot. And now we're going to do the first couple weeks. We might just, finesse it. We're moving to an Off Broadway spot, which used to be a rock club, and it still is a rock club, but it's going to be a different design. And we're going to live in it 5 nights a week for, from February, mid-February to end of March, and kind of lock into what the script is. And then maybe at the end of the night, each night we'll have a different guest come. So, people will come back and like, oh, this person came out and did a song, and you don't know what's going to happen. And that's that. And the only thing I could say is, writing it and working on it, I thought would be cathartic, but it's more traumatic, some of the heavy stuff. But when I do it in front of people, just like all the best things, being in public and being out in the community, then it's cathartic and not traumatic. And I guess a lot of people that have seen it, I don't know if anybody's seen it on these.
Oh yeah, you've got a ton of people that have been to see the show.
Okay, but a lot of people when it came, I don't think it was what they thought it was going to be, for better or for worse. But like, I know if I didn't do it as a collaboration, it would have been a good show, but it would have been a different show. And I just working with people has been really pleasurable, because I'm the leader of my band. The band's called Jesse Malin. I get my way usually most of the time. And, like, give him enough rope, he'll hang himself. Like, it was good to work with a team. And yeah, I don't want to give away too much of the show, but it's not just me playing and telling stories like a folk show or a, songwriter or storytellers. It's actually a play, if you haven't seen it, that has a real story to it. And my music from when I'm 12 years old. There's a song in there I wrote for my first band when I was in grade school. And then there's my band in the 90s has a song in there, and a lot of stuff from my solo career. So
it's going to be at the Bowery Palace from February 18th through March 29th. Looks like five nights, Wednesdays through Sundays. So when you had that residency or when you're doing your shows at the Gramercy, how did you prepare for that physically, as far as, doing a show every night, or doing those shows?
I really was trying to get my strength up as much as I could possibly. I mean, I'm a runner. If I can't go out and run, but there's a lot of things I do without therapists here that I've learned that, keep myself going with my braces and stuff. I'm able to get on a bike here that's mostly done by arms, but some leg action. Standing in my living room, I have a mic stand back here, and it's not to record. It's for practicing those stands. And I have a recording of my show, and I sing in my living room, just building up stamina like I would for any tour, but different things. And then making sure that, I would have some people to help me out in my crew, and everybody knew, how much I could be in the space. And, we did some meet and greets. In the beginning, I didn't realize how intense a show was. Like, yeah, let's have meet and greets. We'll do a pre-show songs and stories. And then it was like, what? I have one of these tonight? And I can't do anything with people and not, really be there and dig in. So it's definitely a lot of training to get ready for it. And going home, I mean, I don't drink these days. And so just trying to stay really fit to pull this show off and be able to remember to be, to stay present in it, because it is a script and a story. It's my story, so it's not a stretch. I'm not playing, a Shakespeare character, but I don't have to wear a leotard or anything.
How was that like for you, working with the writer I mean, how did she, I'm sure you guys talked a ton. She listened to all of your music. Like, what was that process like? And how was that for you, collaborating with somebody to do something outside of like the songwriting process?
if I had had the wrong people, it might have been really tough, but it was pleasurable because I had made, I think we ended up with good people and I learned. And, I worked on my book and had that almost grown, which is coming out in April, a memoir. And that had some stories, but we were going to tell a different story with this play. And so, yeah, it was a lot of hours of getting somebody, a stranger that's, we did most of it on Zoom, that's in California, some in person, and getting them to understand and be able to speak and think in my head with me, and then everything has to come out of my mouth. So just working it together where everything rang true, and 98% of this play is true. There's two things, and they're little silly things, I won't give them away now, but someday, that aren't true, but otherwise it's a real story. And then it was also fun to have somebody that didn't know my music, give them a playlist of 50 songs, let them look and work on a script with me, and then have them kind of cherry pick through my catalog and repurpose things, and songs that I wouldn't think about it putting in ended up in the show. And at first I was like, no, we don't even play that song live. Like, where's the song we always play, Room 13? And then when it was in the show, these songs found a new life and became really enjoyable to revisit in a different context. So that was refreshing.
Stan, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to say for those in New Jersey, Jesse's show is coming here. It's a while from now, August 15th at the Vogel in Red Bank. And I looked the other day, it's almost sold out. So looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen the show, Jesse, but I'm looking forward to that in August.
Okay, yeah.
August 15th at the Vogel. Yes, which is right next to the Count Basie Theater. So
Yeah, I think I once like stepped in there to like sneak away and use the bathroom or just like go hide or something. And I saw it, but yeah, those theaters are nice, and Red Bank's a great place.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been a different thing to do and work on, and now to go to 5 nights a week in a 90-seat theater. The Gramercy is about 400 or 500, and it was great in there too. And the people that worked there were so cool because we were there rehearsing for a while, living in the place, and I have, I can't get around that easy, so I needed certain spots to go down the stairs a certain way or an elevator, and everybody was pretty good. But in the Bowery Palace, it's going to be a lot more intimate, and doing it 5 nights in a row I've never done anything like this. I didn't do Broadway with David Bowie and the Elephant Man. I was at home watching the Flintstones, as a kid.
Yes. There we go.
We all were.
Yes.
Jesse, somebody's asking, you're getting a lot of comments here, and just so you know, like, people are watching on Facebook, so we're getting a lot of comments from people, but a ton of people from Spring Nuts, fellow Bruce fans, have been to see it. A couple of my friends saw it multiple times. Somebody asked about, like, how will it be different from what you were doing staging wise at the Gramercy versus the Bowery, or will it be the same setup as far as staging, lighting, all that kind of stuff?
I think we're going to be able to dig in a little bit more on the lighting and have more time. We're going to have 2 weeks. The thing about the Gramercy, as wonderful as it was, not being in a residency, it's a rock box theater that you're in and out. The night before, Marky Ramone is playing. The next night, some band from LA. It's like, so it's a lot on the crew to be able to load in and out, and do all that. So this, I think, we'll be able to design it a little more and really work on the lights and the stage design in a deeper way. And some of the things that happen, again, I don't want to spoil it, but the beginning of the show and the ending of the show, we're still going to keep that kind of similar to how I arrive and how I leave. No Santa Claus in a sled or any kind of reindeer, but something among that you wouldn't expect. But yeah, some of those elements are going to be in it. But hopefully we'll be able to dig in, and then to be in a small room. I mean, I didn't know much about Off Broadway, but I thought, the Blue Man Group, they were doing it for years on Lafayette Street, and found out it was a small theater, 150 seats, or a lot of these places in the Village, La Mama, and they're not that big. So I guess we're in that zone, and we're going to be really in people's faces, I guess, with the show. So it'll have a different thing when you're that close to an audience. It's you get a different thing. We get something from each other. I think that's a fun thing about performing and just being out there at a live show.
Well, again, Bowery Palace, February the 18th through March 29th, five days a week, starting Wednesdays through Sundays. So that's part and partial with the autobiography, Almost Grown, which is coming out in April, if I am reading correctly.
Yeah, it comes out April 8th, I think, or something, April 7th. And it's a memoir. It's the first book I've ever written. I've written forwards for other people or an article here and there or blogs, but this is a story, and it's different than the play. But I'm about to do the audio book this week, so I'm getting my head around, like, looking at it again and reading it. And I've been in such play world with this, but there are some things that cross over, and some things that happen in the play that happened in my younger days or in my earlier music days that I get into in more detail in the book. So.
Well, you got one person here that really likes it, Harlan Coben, who author, sold tens
Right.
of millions of
He's
books.
read the book and he gave
Yep.
us a quote.
Yes,
Thank
he
you,
did.
Harlan.
Jesse Malin's new memoir is raw and sweet and gritty and surprisingly gripping. I've long been a fan of Jesse's music, but I knew next to nothing about the man behind the songs until I read the dramatic and poignant New York City tale of his rise. Mr. Harlan Coben.
Mm.
So are you doing your own audio on this?
Yeah, I don't think Johnny Depp was available, and Shane McGowan has passed away and wouldn't sound as good as me. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I enjoy that. When I was in Argentina, and they don't speak a lot of English down there, and I was alone a lot doing, things to every day, PT, and I would listen to a lot of audiobooks, and it gave me podcasts and things that I never, really did as much. And I listened to a lot of books on tape, and it was cool. It was good, especially, I even did Barbara Streisand, but to hear it in her voice, and Debbie Harry and Chris Stein, a lot of, and Bruce's book. I went back after reading it and listened to it, and wow, same thing with the Patti Smith book, which is, both of those are the really up there on the level that you aspire to. But like, I think hearing the person read it, Lucinda Williams, my friend, she had just done one, and it makes a big difference. I don't know.
Well, Johnny Depp has nothing on you, Jesse. So.
Good guy, actually. I know him a little bit, and he's always been really good to my friends that used to work at his bar in LA. And he likes good music, that guy. He knows his stuff.
Yeah,
But
when Born to Run was coming out, there was a period of time where we knew the audio was coming, but I think there was some hesitation on Bruce's end that whether he wanted to do it or not. And I was just thinking, who would I want? Maybe Eddie Vedder, but like if it's not going to be Bruce, then Eddie would be great, just that voice. But when Stevie's book came out, like I read the book, great book, well written, but then to hear the audio version of Stevie's book in his voice, it just added a whole other level because he's doing voices and he's doing imitations and he's doing all this different stuff. It just made it that much better. So I'm glad that you're doing your own.
Yeah, there's a lot of animated voices and stuff that I'll get into that you just don't get on the page. Yeah. So yeah, that's nice. But yeah, some people don't. I think the Keith Richards book was Johnny Depp. That's why I was joking. And a guy I know named Joe Hurley and somebody else. I think, and Keith read some of it. But, it's a pain in the neck, I guess. I'll find out. I'll let you guys know how it is. You go in and get a read over a microphone. I mean, I don't know. But I've DJ'd before, so, some of that stuff.
People are asking if you'll have autographed copies of the book, Jesse, when it comes out.
Yeah, I just put in an order, actually, for our merch table. The publisher, Akashek Books, and they've done a lot of cool things. I think a lot of music stuff. I found the company through Mike Imperioli, who wrote a great novel, not about The Sopranos, a great novel called "The Perfume Burned His Eyes," and really just a great story. I don't want to give it away too much, but I gave him a copy of my book just because he had written a book, and he said, you got to talk to these people at this company. And I sent them the book. So that's where that connected. But starting February 18th at the first show, that Wednesday at the Bowery Palace, we'll be selling autographed copies of the book every night. So I'm excited to see it. I still come from that time where, I need the real artifact. Like you read something, digitally, but I'm like, I want to hold it. I still do my records on vinyl, and I still buy books and read books in bed because, I just can't be scrolling and getting all that light in my face. Like, I like the stuff.
And what's the name of the book again, Jesse?
It's called Almost Grown.
Almost Grown. Great.
which is one of my songs
Right.
on the first album.
Mm.
Actually, Danny Clinch, the photographer, he does a lot of great music. He sang that song on a tribute record to me, a benefit record. He did a wonderful version of that.
Yep.
Nice.
Speaking of Michael Imperioli, I almost fell out of my seat when I was watching the movie Song Sung Blue, and there's Michael playing a Buddy Holly impersonator as part of an impersonating group, and then he's kind of throughout the whole movie. It was just so different from stuff I've seen him in before, not just Sopranos, but to see him being a musician and playing, like it was just great. He did a fantastic job.
He's a great actor. Yeah, there was this thing on maybe it was HBO, maybe about 9 years ago, Escape from Dannemora, about these guys that escaped in a prison upstate New York, and he played Governor Como. Funny enough, but he was really good. I mean, he's in so many things. White Lotus,
Yeah, why not?
Goodfellas, even the Basketball Diaries, the one with Mark Wahlberg that was out with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's great in that. I mean, and he's made his own films. And, yeah, he's really talented. It's interesting when you see people outside of, I mean, a show like Sopranos. It's so in our heads. It's maybe one of the greatest shows, if it might be of all time. I mean, that and The Honeymooners. I don't know, but yeah, he's just so good in that. But then to see him be able to do other things and pull it off, that's his talent. He's so good.
You brought up the uh, Silver Saints album. I listened to that yesterday from start to finish. You got so many great artists that were on there, including one of my favorites, Adam Duritz and the Counting Crows. Oh Sheena, that's a great
Yeah.
song. But you got Jack Antonoff and the Bleachers, Counting Crows, Bruce, Billy Joe Armstrong. Like it's just a litany of who's who of modern artists. Can you talk about that? How that whole came about?
Um, yeah, that really really touched my heart. It was done to raise funds because the insurance wasn't covering and still doesn't cover a lot of my medical supplies and home care and most of it. So my old manager and my new manager, both great people and friends, and they decided to get together while I was in hospital and start this idea for this album where people would do my songs. And the label Glass Notes, which is Daniel Glass, who was when Degeneration, my old band, got signed to EMI in the 90s. That was our first major record deal. He was the president of the company. And then he went on and he was at Artemis when my first two albums came out. And then he ended up making his own label, Glass Notes. So he was so kind to put out what became a triple record set, which is insane. And a couple things besides obviously that it definitely helped a lot, and anybody that bought it and supported it's made a big difference in me being able to be here and get back on stage and everything and live. But another thing spiritually, just when I get these songs, I was in Buenos Aires and they'd come in one at a time to my management office and then they would email it to me, and I could be in a car traveling in some uncomfortable situation in a wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. And I would just see it on my phone and just put it on. And yeah, it's great. I mean, I needed the financial help, but to hear these songs, to hear Oshina by the Counting Crows and hear people put so much love into these songs that, I played them all around the world in my own way, but to have other people come in and go deep with it was like, probably more than the money or anything. It's something inside, like, and then also to have a record, which I felt was a funny part in a good way, that could have Lucinda Williams and Elvis Costello, and then have Agnostic Front and Murphy's Law, like have hardcore and Rancid, and then have Bruce Springsteen, and like I think it all connects together, and maybe some people out there watching it would get that it's all the same kind of thing in a way. But in other ways, it's very different. My friend Vinny Stigma, he's in Agnostic Front. They're doing the first single I put out when I was 14, God is Dead. And it's on there, with the wallflowers and, other beautiful things. So, and it was fun to hear the different versions and hear how people got in there and what they did. And yeah, so
What was the process? Did each of them, so did somebody reach out to them? Did they come forward and wanted to do this? How did they pick the
Some
songs
people
that
came
each of them?
forward. and knew it was happening, I guess. I mean, I was kind of out of it in the early stages, and I didn't want to know because I don't want to be burdening people and be like, yeah, give me this, help out. It was already like it was a sweet relief with donations, and it's really hard. One of the lessons in this whole thing is to learn how to receive. I like to be the guy throwing the party, handing out drinks, whatever, putting on benefits, or and not. After a while, it feels so weird to be having to ask or need anything. And like I said, the community before, but the music community is better. I've done charities for all kinds of stuff and been part of things as an artist or an organizer or both. But mostly when you're dealing with anything, the musicians and the people in the audience and the people just in the whole music, if you say industry or just the whole vibe of it, they're the best at, I think, supporting people and in that way. But some people pick their songs. Some people wanted suggestions, I think I heard, and some people had things, like, oh yeah, do this song. They're like, cool, and some people like, no, I want to do this, and some people were being all secretive, like we're brewing something up and you're just gonna get it, and or maybe they didn't tell me. So there were some surprises, which was fun too.
Obviously, you had things going on with yourself and your health, but like, did you listen to the final product from start to finish? Did you have some involvement in like the sequencing?
At the end, when it was starting to come together, I was, a little more active, and they would, I would be on some conversations on the phone with, like, when they're deciding, how to sequence it, and and that, and I think I had some input in that. In the end, I tried to back off because the two producers, Dave Basin, who manages me, and Diane Gentile, who did about 20 years ago when I started out, they kind of are artists, and they got listed as the producers, and they kind of came through, and at the same time, one of my dear friends, a guy named Lyle Hyson, who is a drummer, but he had put out my first record when I was 14 from my hardcore band Heart Attack, God Is Dead, which is a rare single that is out of print for a lot of years and collectors run after. It's like a 3-song EP, but we're kids, and angry fast little record. And he put that out on his fanzine label, Damaged Goods. And when this happened to me, he really wanted to do something. So funny enough, and it's so beyond sweet, there's another record coming out on Wicked Cool, Steve Van Zant's label, called I Would Do It For You. And it's actually two parts, 2 volumes, and it's because there's like a lot of songs, and some of them are known artists, national acts, whatever, and some are friends or family or drummers of mine that are I've worked with. Like, there's some really great versions on that, and that's going to come out still. So it's unbelievable. Yeah.
We definitely want to ask you about Bruce and Broken Radio and how that all started. But before we get to that, just for my own personal, Lucinda Williams, oh my God, what a fantastic artist, songwriter. How did you, how long have you guys been friends? How did you meet? What's that been like?
Oh, wow. Well, we met at a jazz gig at the Blue Note Club in the West Village, but it was a jazz gig played by Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones. So it was
oh, wow. Wow.
So we weren't that, jazzed out, but I was there and I met her and we started talking and just connected. And I had been a fan. In the mid 90s, I was in a group and I was looking, in a loud rock band, Degeneration, and we'd be riding around and we'd go around America. And when we'd be in these different cities, outside of major cities, if we were in smaller cities and opening for other bands, the crowd did not get us. We got hit with chains and bottles and sneakers and Birkenstocks and, anything. And it was hard for us, but the people that loved the band loved it. So, in Chicago and LA and San Francisco and New York and London, it's great. Outside of there, not so much. And I'd be in the bus and in the van and I'd be listening. I wanted to get back into a different kind of communicating with my songs and feelings. So I started to listen to more songwriter stuff. And I was listening to Steve Earle and a record called I Feel All Right. And one day on the final track, this voice just popped out of the last song, You're Still Standing There. And it just was like a voice I'd never heard. Remind me in a different way. But when I first heard Deborah Harry, like just a voice that you're like, wow, I want to die listening to that person sing. And or I could die. I don't want to. And so I started to, at the time I was friendly with, believe it or not, too, with Joey Ramone. We would talk music almost once or twice a week. And he said, "What are you listening to, Jesse? What are you?" And I'd always tell him, and and then I said, "Listen to this like artist, Lucinda Williams." He goes, "I know her." I was like, I knew he knew a lot about music, but I was like, "What?" Joe? He goes, "Yeah, I was on like a songwriting panel with her at the Bottom Line with Vince Scelsa." I was like, "Well, that makes sense." And sure enough, it was true. Joey, always told the truth. And I went to see her. I got her records. I got Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, and I went to that tour in LA. I was on tour. I went to the Wiltern Theater, and she told stories between the songs about all the people that they were written about, Lake Charles and old Drunken Angel, and a lot of them were people that had passed. Or I was like, this person had such heart. So I didn't know her then, but I was a fan. So when I met her at the Blue Note, I was like, wow, meeting Lucinda Williams. Now I find out, she's from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I'm from, Flushing, Whitestone, Queens, but we have the same birthday. We're born on the same day. And then she said she came to New York in 1979 and tried to relive Bob Dylan and be on Bleecker Street and, go through those footsteps, try to relive those days, and ended up playing a coffee house in Flushing, Queens, and taking my train line, the 7 train, to play to 10 people. Of course, that's all changed now, but we stayed friends. And whenever I was in LA, if she lived there or Nashville or New York, we would just hang out, talk music, have drinks. And that was it. I toured with her a bunch, and she's just as sweet as real and human and empathetic and sympathetic that those songs are that she writes. She's even more of that person. The way people talk about Joe Strummer or Bruce Springsteen, like, hey, this is a guy who cares about people, and then you meet them and they really are that, like what you've heard, the myth. She's got that thing, and it's all heart. And she had a stroke in the middle of COVID, and she couldn't play guitar. And she had a different kind of stroke than I had. So I was making trips down to Nashville to write with her in her kitchen and play guitar and create songs while she had lyrics. And we would sit around the kitchen table in Nashville. And I know her a long time at this point. But when you're sitting in someone's kitchen and you're playing guitar, and you're working up a song, you have some printed paper and maybe a beer or water, and you're just sitting there, and then suddenly that voice pops out, and I look over and go, "Holy shit, that's my friend!" Oh no, that's Lucinda Williams. That's that voice. That now here's the magic. She's channeling something, and that happens with her sometimes. So we wrote a few songs, and then the record, was done. So it came out, and she's starting to get better from her stroke. Even to this day, she's stronger all the time. And then it would happen to me, something different, but it was like, she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna make walkers cool," and she doesn't need a walker now, bless her. But a great person, and the records are just. She has a brand new record out that came out like last week called "World Gone Wrong," and the world has gone wrong. And it's a political record, and it's great. Yeah.
For those of you out there watching, if you don't know Lucinda, definitely check her out. Car Wheels on a Gravel Road was actually produced a lot by Roy. There was somebody else involved, but
Steve Earle,
Steve Earle, yep. But she produced one of your albums, correct?
Yeah, I left that out. See, I'm not thinking about myself. I want to think about other people, the lives of others. In like 2018 or something, or maybe it's 17. I guess you could probably look this up, but had a manager at the time was like, "Jesse, you should get somebody different outside of New York City to produce your record, and why don't you think outside the box? Maybe somebody that's done a lot." And I said, "Well, I got invited to go to LA to see my friend Lucinda Williams is opening the final of the Tom Petty tour and the Heartbreakers at the Hollywood Bowl, and she's opening 3 nights. I'm going to go out there. Well, maybe we just ask her and her husband. They make great records, and I know the engineer that they like to work with. He did a record once with me." My manager said, "Yeah." So we booked some plane tickets, and we went out, and we saw. Little did we know that it would be the last Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers show, and Lucinda at the Hollywood Bowl. And I'd seen Tom Petty a bunch of times, and I thought he was good. But this night, it was really special. And I'm not saying that because he passed a week later. It was just a magical night with the sun coming down. If anybody's ever been at the Hollywood Bowl, but to hear that kind of music, that American California, Southern kind of music, and Lou was great. And yeah, a week late, we went out to dinner the next night, and I talked to her about making a record, and talked to her husband Tom, and they seemed pretty in. And I said, well, you better hear the songs first. You might not like it. And then that got a little delayed, of course. Tom passed on the following Monday. And we picked it up that Christmas. And I went to LA. And Lou, like me, she gets the holiday blues sometimes and likes to work. So we worked through Christmas and recorded Room 13 and I forget, Promises, a bunch of songs. Me and Derek Cruz and my drummer Randy and some of her band, we got together in the studio, and then we said, "Oh, it felt good." So we kept going, and we made Sunset Kids, which would come out a year or so later. And it's one of my favorite records, and she's a real writer, a lyricist, so it was also fun. I'd call her the lyric doctor. I'd have to bring in my words, and we'd sit at a table, and she would, see what she thought of my lyrics, and sometimes she had some things to say. So,
Yeah, it came out in 2019. She's on Room 13, Shane, and Dead On. And then you got Billy Joe Armstrong, Strangers and Thieves.
yeah, I like
That's
that.
quite the wide swath there. You got Lucinda on one side, you got Billy Joe on the other.
Yeah, yeah. It all makes sense to me in my record collection.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all there. Punk, rock, alt country, whatever you want to call it. It's all there in some degrees.
3 chords and an attitude.
So for our purposes, at least with Spring Nuts here, obviously we got a lot of Bruce fans here. You're a Bruce fan. Can you tell us about how you met Bruce, how that all came about?
Yeah. Again, not in the 90s, like I said about Lucinda when I was searching for something and I started listening to Steve Earle. My early music, it was in the back of, or listen to AM radio to back of my father's car, this or that was, songwriters, Jim Croce, Elton John, storytellers. But then I got into hard rock and Kiss and Aerosmith and all that. So when those Bruce Springsteen records were coming out, I didn't fully connect with it. It seemed like something for people a little older than me. I was in that Kiss army and that I needed stuff to be, real loud, and I didn't fully get into it. Though I'd been an Elton John fan and some of his early lyrics are pretty deep. But me and my friends had respect for Bruce because we were really into artists that really went for it, that put out, or whatever we used to think. We wanted to see, I guess this is the late 70s, see people on stage go nuts. Like Angus Young, he was nuts. He's not a statue. And they really give a show. And I saw some clip of like Rosalita, maybe it's from Phoenix or somewhere on one of these rock shows.
Yep.
We were like, wow, this guy puts out, he gives it. So there was respect. And then I remember hearing Darkness on the Edge of Town. I would visit my father once in a while, and he liked Bob Seger, which I thought was okay. And he liked, Harry Chapin. It's okay. But I would hear Darkness and some of those guitar solos in, Adam Raised a Cain and Candy's Room. And I was like, this guy's really ripping on his voice, and Max is drumming. So I had respect. But I got into hardcore and punk, and I was not really listening to a lot of stuff on major labels and was going more underground. From the Clash, I went into the Dead Kennedys and the Bad Brains and my own music. And it was a different time where you had to kind of throw away all the stuff from the past. You were creating something. You're at that age where it's like, no, it's all about what you're doing and better than everybody. But it kind of ran dry in around 83, 84. I felt that the hardcore punk scene was becoming too macho and too metal and too violent. So I started to perk my ears up for other things. And one day I got a copy from a friend of Nebraska, and I put that on, and the lyrics and everything, it just spoke to me. And I looked at the cover and I got this haunted feeling, and it felt like a movie. And I said, this guy's some big famous rock star that might have all this money and whatever. And he wrote this. Like, this is real. This is on the street, and this is punk. So it got me inspired to listen more and go back to the other records. So by the time Born in the USA came out, I still had my punk rock friends, and they were all making fun of me, like, "What's that Rambo pickup truck?" I was like, "Have you read the lyrics? Like, a bunch of characters on this record go to jail or end up dead, or like I go, this Born USA is not like some patriot blind fit, like this is really read the freaking lyric sheet." And so I was a fan, and then we're still into punk stuff and into the 90s. I'm in Degeneration, and everybody respected Bruce, but they didn't like listen to it like I did. And I started listening again when Philadelphia, the song, came out. I was into Nebraska, I was into Born USA, and I was into Tunnel Love. And then somewhere after that, maybe, I don't know, I was involved in my own shit. And then I heard that song in the movie Philadelphia, and I was like, wow. And I saw the video of him walking, and I said, he's really like, when he writes some of these things, and you see it with the wrestler, like if somebody asks him maybe to write a song for a film, I don't know how, but he gets in there, and it's like, it's like the whole movie, the sentiment is in that song. And even though there's electronic drums and rhythms and things on Philadelphia, and I love Tunnel of Love, but it was like, it was real as hell to me. No angels, and AIDS was still such a, it's still a horrible thing, but it was more scary before we had more medicine to it. It was just like, so we get a record deal for my band, and then we get dropped because they get a new president. Daniel Glass gets fired. And I figure I'm going to go sell shoes or something, on St. Mark's Place, or go back to moving furniture. And someone says, "No, you're going to get another record deal." I'm like, "Who gets another record deal?" But sure enough, somehow my band got a bidding war when all these labels are looking at us, and we're flying back and forth. And Columbia Records wanted us more than anybody. So we went to LA to meet some people there, and they invited us to their big Grammy party in Rodeo. After the Grammys, some fancy pants place. So I figure I'll put on a nice suit, and I'm putting on a suit in the hotel, and I'm watching the Grammys, and I see Bruce sing Philadelphia. Then an hour later or 2 hours later, I'm drinking a Rolling Rock, and we're at this party, and someone goes, "Hey, Bruce, meet Degeneration." And somebody snaps a picture, and we start talking and drinking tequila and this and that, and he's with Patty. And I remember I used to busk in the subway, and I loved this song, Under the Sun, that maybe was on a Southside Johnny album that she co-wrote. So I was telling her about that. We had this nice time. And then we meet De Niro, and he's kind of weird. And we met all, it was like this Hollywood, rodeo party. And we leave, and that's it. Got a photo to show our parents. Look, Bruce Springsteen. And he knew our music. And he said, "Yeah, there's a great article on you guys in Rolling Stone." It's like, to me, somebody like that, like, I didn't realize, of course, now everybody gets a subscription and they like rock mags, but it's like, okay, wow, somebody's paying attention. And then I went to see them in 99 reunion tour, and some of our music was being played like on the earth, like before the show in the garden.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. I got the feeling that maybe he made the mix. The Pogues were on there, and it just sounded like it wasn't just made by some roadie. Maybe it was, but I don't know. So that didn't really make so much sense. And then I guess I made my first album, Fine Art of Self-Destruction, with Ryan Adams in 5 days. It's all the money we had. And it was a solo record. The Degeneration broke up. I go solo. And I said to Ryan and my manager, Diane, in the studio on the last day of the week, I don't know, I just want to, this is corny to say, but I'll say it. I want Bruce Springsteen to hear this record. I didn't know him. We saw him, that story I just told was 7 years earlier or something, or 5 years. So that's it. So the record comes out. I have a new life. Like, suddenly I get good reviews. We're not getting hit with bottles and Birkenstocks and things. I go around the world, and people are like writing about the songs and not our hair and our makeup. And, we dress pretty silly in Degeneration. They were writing about what I wrote about. And I was going all over the world. And suddenly the money that I spent on the 5 days paid off. It was like this record. And the end of the year, I guess the fall, I was asked to do Light of Day at the Stone Pony. So I came down with my band, and that's when it was still just only at the Pony, I think. And we played a set. And then I go into the green room, and there's Bruce and Patty. And he's right there, and he missed the set. So I was like, oh, wow, it sucks, whatever. And he said, but you did Hungry Heart for the Light of Day compilation. I really like the version. And I was like, oh, thank you, thanks a lot. And then we start talking about The Clash or something, or Joe Strummer's latest album, I think. And then he said, I haven't heard your record, but I've read some good reviews on it, and I'm really interested. So I whispered to Harry, my roadie, or somebody. I said, "Go to the merch table, get the CD, contact this." Gave it to Bruce. So now, and get faster. About a month later, my manager calls, and she says that somebody from the management office, that Bruce is going to talk to me. He wants to talk to me. He's going to call. Get ready. Bruce is going to call you. Okay. Wow. This is great. There's no call. There's nothing. It goes on for 2 weeks. I figured it's bullshit. So the day after Thanksgiving, I wake up kind of late, and there's a message on my voicemail, and it's from Bruce. And he's like, give me a call back. I was like, wow. So I woke up. It was around 2. I used to wake up around 2 then. And I said, yeah, I'm just getting up. And he said, yeah, I missed those rock hours. Oh, man, I missed that. And I said, yeah, I get up now. He goes, do you have kids? I said, no. He goes, well, that changes a lot. And he said, do you want to do, I'm doing a holiday charity thing in Asbury. Do you want to come down and play? And I was like, yeah, I know some Christmas songs, Phil Spector's album, Ramones. No, we're going to do your songs. Like, really? He goes, yeah, my band, I've got a band, Max and this. And I said, okay, tell me sure. And he goes, it's 3 nights, but you don't have to do them all. You could do one or do all 3. And I said, I'll do all 3.
Good choice. Good choice.
So I'm sitting here today, right now, in a snowstorm. It comes up, and I can't believe it's happening. We go down there to rehearse, and we go to Convention Hall. And I don't know that much Asbury Park. It's all new to me. I'm more of a New York rock guy. This is my turf. I'm New York City, not a Jersey guy. But I learned to love it. And I go down there, and we get met outside the theater by this big guy. And he's got a white beard. It's like if Santa Claus was going to beat you up. It was tough. It was Terry McGovern. Right. And he's so nice. And he takes us in, and we do the rehearsal, and it's like, is this really happening? This big stage. There's Max, and we're playing Wendy and Queen of the Underworld and Xmas, this Christmas song I had. And there's Nils, and it's kind of a mixed band. I think Jimmy Vivino is playing guitar too, Uncle Floyd's brother, and great guitarist. And Bruce is like my side man. Like, he's singing the harmonies, he knows all the parts, and he's really hitting his guitar. And I'm like, he's coming by my mic, and we said, all right, it goes good. I'll see you in 2 days. Drive back to the city. Now it's the big day, and there's a snowstorm, just like we have today, like an insane snowstorm. But they didn't cancel for some reason. So my friend Trigger, who had owned the club that I had got my record deal out of, the Continental, he had an old 1961 car, and it was like a cool car, but he had no air conditioning, no defroster. It's a 1961. And we're driving down, the Garden State, the Turnpike, all that, and we're crawling. And it took 5 hours with no defroster and no heat to get there. And my guitar tech got there earlier, and apparently Bruce kept asking him, where's the kid? Is the kid here? And meanwhile, I'm like 30. Not the kid, but and I get in there just in time. So already I'm nervous to do this, but then put 5 hours of being nervous. It doesn't get done like now, 90 minutes you're in Asbury, but on a regular day. And we went out and I sang. And I remember listening to these guys talk, and I had like a dress room, and there was Southside, and Steven sang, and Sam Moore from Sam and Dave, and Bon Jovi, but they all knew each other, and I was kind of outside it. But Bruce was super cool and very generous. And this is when records still sold a little bit, the early 2000s. So after I did those 3 shows, the sales like jumped. I was like, wow. My label was like, thank you, Bruce. But the bill, Sam Moore, and then I look to the side of the stage, I walk off, and there's Danny DeVito, and then it ended after 3 nights. The weather changed. They canceled the next day. We did 2 more. And then the last night we went out, and I'd never seen Asbury in a nice way. I'd only played the bars with fruit flies at the fast lane, and there was prostitutes around the corner, and the Empress wasn't what it is now, and it was like scary land throughout the 90s and early 2000s. But now we go down some street and driving, and we're at a party with Bruce and John Landau, and everybody's nice, and it's a nice place, like Magnolias or something, and just start talking. And I started talking to John Landau about the MC5 record he produced, and we're having a good time. Then we started talking about movies and Scorsese and things I love. And he's like, yeah, Clarence was in New York, New York. I'm like, oh, yeah, right. He goes, but we had to get him back. So I had to call Martin Scorsese and be like, we got to get on the road. You know, I don't care if your movies take 20 years. We need Clarence now. Like, we got. And then somehow it came up, and he said, you know, Taxi Driver. And I was like, yeah, I've seen it 50 times. I'm nuts. That scene when Travis talks, you know, and he says, you know, the Robert De Niro character, you talking to me? You talking to me? He goes, he stole that from Bruce. I'm like, really? Robert De Niro? He goes, yeah, they came to the bottom line. Bruce used to do that and blah, blah. I'm like, they came to the show. And if you look in the script of Taxi Driver, in that scene, it just says Travis, the character, talks to himself in the mirror. And a lot of the best lines in movies are not in the script, like Dog Day Afternoon, Attica, Attica. That's not in the script. You know, maybe leave the gun, take the cannolis, might not be in the script either. Who knows? But, you know, I love the smell of napalm. But so I go over to Bruce. I'm like, the kids, you know, like 31. Yeah, I'm like, I got to go tell him. And I run over to Bruce. I'm like, John Landau just said that you came up with you talking to me and they stole it from you. And he was so humble. He was just like,
did he admit it?
He goes, John, you know, maybe, I don't know. John likes to think like he wouldn't like go, yeah, you know, he was so cool about it. And like, maybe John remembers it that way. Yeah, like, I don't know. So, but went back home, and it was just it was a crazy experience. And, you know, we did get to talk a bunch, and just watching that whole scene and how cool they were. And it was a benefit for, I think, a school or something in Asbury. So there was a gospel choir at the end. And, I think he did From Small Things. Oh, and that's the other thing. I said, you know, The Wish is a Christmas song, Bruce. You should put that in the set.
Yes.
And then suddenly I came back the next night. It was in the set. And I was like, wow, this guy like thinks about things. You could say something. And if this has happened before, I've said something to him once about Point Blank. I went to a show and he was singing the ending different. I said, you know, on the and then I went again, and it was like, you don't know, but like then he came out the next night. Jesse wants to hear The Wish. This is for him. He's a guy I got to know, my new friend. And so I think that won me some points with the crowd, because like, wow, how can you not love that song around Christmas time or anytime? So from there, we stayed in touch a little bit, you know. I think invited me to some rehearsals for the Seeger sessions, and I was touring. I think I went to Vote for Change and said hi a little bit, and always the whole crew, the whole backstage thing, you know, these huge places, and it was just like family. And especially like, you know, Terry McGovern seemed to be in the front of the whole thing of who would get in, and how, you know, you'd get in touch with him, and he was so great, and had a funny sense of humor, because I think he understood, like when we left that first rehearsal at Convention Hall, he just like said to my manager, he goes, yeah, I can imagine the ride you're going to have home talking. Like he knew, like we were like, what the fuck happened? Like he at least knew, like he worked at the North Pole. He enjoyed the job, you know. But in that car ride down there for 5 hours, it's like, I'm going to Asbury Park to sing, and I'm going all the way to the place, and I got to go see that Bruce Springsteen's at the end of this 5-hour journey, and I got to get on the mic. And I just remember like thinking that when I got on that stage, when he's calling me out, walking the steps, I hadn't done anything like this. I played Madison Square Garden, but I had my band, my 5 friends. It's just me and my acoustic guitar. And I had a friend that had been on TV with Keith Richards, and he was younger than me and done. I said, if he can do it, I thought of him, and I said, I'm going to go up there. But we stayed in touch. I missed the Seeger session rehearsal things. And so when he played up in Boston on that tour, I went to the Tweeter Center, and I went back to say hello. And backstage was like Peter Wolf and a few other Boston people, and it was chill. It wasn't like Jersey or New York. And I said, yeah, I'm making a new record. I'm going to move to LA, because I signed to an LA label, and I'm going to try it out there. I just lost my apartment. I'm going to see what LA is like, which didn't last very long for me. But he said, well, you know, making this record, if there's something you want me to do on that record, you know, let me know, and I'd be down. I'd love to do something. So in my mind, as I drove home, I was like, wow, that's really cool. You know, maybe we'll get him to play a solo, yell a few hays, and 1, 2, 3. Like, I don't know. I didn't expect what would happen. The producer of the record, Rob Caggiano, a great guy, and he was his first record with me, kind of a heavy metal guy in a way, but he had great taste and listens to a lot of diverse things. He said, "What about that song that's about your mom and her passing away when you were young, about the radio, broken radio? And why don't you do it as a duet with Bruce?" And I said, "It's a personal song. That I don't know. Are we going to get him to play on a rocker and just have some fun?" And he goes, "Think about it." So it took me a while to get that into my head that this might be a good thing, and the power of the radio. And my mom used to sing along in the car, and here's one of the big voices of radio, singing this song about that and about my mom who died when she was 43. So I was like, all right, let's see. So I got a CD of a demo of me doing it, and I'm in LA, and I write a note, handwritten note, and I said, "This is the story behind the song," and I just sent it to somewhere out in Jersey there. And a few more weeks went by. We're working on the record, and I'm in this rent-a-car in a garage, New York guy trying to drive. It's like a Woody Allen movie. I'm trying to get out of this driveway, this basement of this, high rise that I'm in. And the cell phone is even kind of newish then. And it's Bruce. And he's like, "I like this song. Yeah, that sounds cool. Like, I'll do it. I'd love to be part of it. You want to come out here or whatever?" Or, we're in LA. I was like, "Yeah, I want to get out of LA." So we went back to New York, me and the producer and Harry, my guitar tech friend, and we drove out to one of his studios. And Toby Scott greeted us, and I recognized him from the records that I loved of Bruce's, and there was a lot of cool stuff on the property, peacocks and things going on. And he came in his motorcycle and came in and sang. I was like, can't believe this is happening. This song I wrote in my little apartment on 3rd Street, my cat looking at me, this little thing. And over the years, a lot of different nice things have happened. And I've got to just really see that, he walks it like he talks it. And just, I've had friends in need, and he's, when I was going through all of this stuff, he was there and checking in, and just, it's great when, you have the myth and the story of somebody, and there's a lot of people you don't want to meet. Sometimes you shouldn't meet your heroes. It's probably better that you don't, because it is dangerous. And, that's why they're artists. But some people are even more dimensional. Joe Strummer of The Clash was that way. It took it to another level, and you're like, wow, this guy's talking to people and drinking in a bar. He wants to hear everybody's story, and Bruce is like that. And so that's the short story. Jeez.
Wow. That's a fantastic story. Great story.
Amazing story.
But Bruce has done that. Like, I think you're a great example of that. He's done that many times. He didn't have that when he was little. I always think, I'm a huge Elvis fan. I'm an Elvis freak. But Bruce, when he had the opportunity to meet Elvis in Philly in spring of '77 before he died, and he refused it. He said he didn't want to meet his hero. He didn't know what he would say. He didn't want to open that door. He wanted Elvis to be out there in his mind. He just wanted to keep that door closed. But I think as he's gotten older, he's gone out of his way to do this 100 times, and it speaks so much to who he is as a person, as an artist. Like, he wished that he had those opportunities when he was 20 years old, 25 years old. So that's a fantastic
I think
story.
he understands how much people appreciate it and get off, and how much it means. I think he knows that, but it seems very natural and sincere in such a way,
Jesse, you mentioned your record sales went up after that Christmas show. Because I remember Bruce saying it was the fine art of self-destruction. He said, "There's not a bad song on this CD. Every song is good." And I didn't know much about you at the time. I went out and bought the CD.
Oh, it's good to you.
Yeah, and a lot of other people too. And I was like, wow, he's right. This is good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing, And then funny other things that happened is we record the song in his studio, and that was enough. And then the label picks it as a single, and his management, Barbara Carr, somebody said, we'll talk to me. Yeah, he probably would do the video. And then next thing you know, I'm out there shooting a video in that barn where they did Western Stars. You could see it in that film, and with Danny Clinch did the video. And when you're sitting around doing a video, there's a lot of time down. Like, movies are probably way worse, I imagine, but they're getting lights right, and they're doing all these things that are important, and cameras and the angles. So you're just there, and you got your guitar, and usually just, check your phone. but there's Bruce, and he's got his acoustic, and I got mine, and so we're just goofing around, and I'm like, do you know this song? I played "Sway" by the Stones, and he's like, then he's playing like Led Zeppelin
Yeah.
riffs, and I'm just like,
Wow.
just sitting there talking music, two guys with guitars in between all these these takes, and that was wild. It was just wild. But so to do that, and then to get to sing it live at Light of Day, which we've done a handful of times, is always very, very special. And Danny did a great job on the video, but then that we do that, that we get to do that, and it's for anybody writing a song, it's great, and you have it recorded, and records are so important still to me this day. The process and then having it out and heard. But to do the song in front of a live audience and do that is, that to me is the payoff.
I'm assuming did you see Bruce on Broadway at the time?
I did, yeah, I did see that. I liked it a lot, and it was interesting to watch it and go through different changes too, which I didn't really understand as much as I do now doing my own show. But it's funny when the guy who's producing my play, Tommy Kriegsman, is a big fan of Bruce too, but he came over to my house the first time here, and we talked about my play, and he said, we have to make it very different than Bruce on Broadway. And he wasn't saying it because Bruce on Broadway was bad. He's like, we just don't, let's make sure that this is different. You don't want to, maybe there's some things that are similar, but I thought the show was really good. I've watched it on Netflix, and it's one of those things, even the David Byrne play, American Utopia, which I loved. A lot of these things, again, being live, being in there, this is something that goes down when you're there in the theater and in the moment, that I think it's good on the Netflix. But those nights, and yeah, it was fun watching it change. I remember there was a Joe Strummer quote. I keep bringing him up; it's one of my favorites. But the future is unwritten or something, and it was in one of the earlier parts of the script, and then it wasn't. But now I see you got to give these things haircuts. But the Martin Luther King quote, which is so important and relevant, was there the whole time. But yeah, it was great.
Any plans? So again, for those that are you just joining us, Jesse's Silver Manhattan is going to the Bowery Palace, February 18th through March 29th. Get your tickets now; they're available. Will you have any plans to do a recording of this, or what is your long-term plans with this, if
We're
anything?
talking about, like I was saying earlier, the songs are repurposed and reimagined, and there's a lot of that because they're put into the play, and so they've changed some ways. And there's some songs that haven't been recorded, so we're gonna probably do like a soundtrack. I don't know if they call it a cast album or something, something like that. But and then we filmed a couple of them just for reference because it's so helpful to see what you're doing. But maybe definitely. I don't see, if we can get it right, I definitely want people to come down and experience it. I'm such a fan of that. I did live streams during COVID,
Yeah.
and it got me and my band through, and our fans we stayed connected. But after that, I was like, I just want to get out there. But we probably will. And I'm also working on a new single that's going to come out this spring. I've been focused on the book and the play, so the next album is probably going to be a little while. But in the meantime, I have a single coming out that I'm just mixing the next couple days.
And the
So,
book, Almost Grown, is coming out in April, so check that out. Jesse,
Jesse,
if you don't,
okay.
sorry, Jesse, if you don't mind, I've listened to your song Argentina 100 times. If I could just read the lyrics, just the first couple stanzas, if you don't mind.
If you don't make fun of them,
Absolutely.
style.
That's a different show. That's not our show. No, it's just beautiful work. I'm going to South America with nothing but my soul, from the dark side of New York, 5,000 miles from home. I'm going to South America. I'm going without a band, down in Argentina below the Rio Grande. It's not what I want, it's just what I need. I'm going to South America, don't know when I'll be back. Even when you don't want me, you always have my back. Just fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I wrote it down there in Buenos Aires in the little clinic spot. So yeah, that was the last thing we put out.
So what did you grow up listening to when you're in your house that got you into music? What was the music that you were listening to in your house?
My parents, before they divorced, my dad loved Elvis, and he loved to listen to the American Top 40, Casey Kasem, and the number one songs of the week, and he was into that countdown. The 70s had a wonderful thing where, American Graffiti and then Happy Days, where the revival of the 50s was in. So I don't think my dad ever left those 50s records behind anyway. I think he didn't get into the 60s thing, the hippie rock and roll thing. But so I heard a lot of Chuck Berry, and my mom liked Sinatra. So it took me a while to get the Sinatra until I was a little older. I think I needed to live a little bit more to realize hard life being put
Right.
into a song. But early on, like I said, Jim Croce, AM radio stuff like Elton John. I had a babysitter that had Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It was the first album I had. Elton John gatefold double album. And I looked at the lyrics and I read them, and they were so pointed and dark and cinematic and effed up. And I was like, wow, who's Marilyn Monroe? Candle in the Wind. What happened to her? Or everything on it. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I didn't realize it was such a angry song. I didn't know what being a kept man could be in the big city, but like you could feel that there was that writing could really be. And then the Who and Elton John. And then I got into Kiss, Kiss Army and all that. And then from there, some of the tougher bands, AC/DC earlier.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how you transitioned into the punk scene. From you went from like all these Jim Croce and then all that way. So
And then I just saw the Sex Pistols on like TV on some show. And then I found the Ramones, and they were kind of from Queens. And it was like a thing that, they had the jackets like Fonzie from Happy Days and the 50s thing. But then it was like you could just learn those songs really quickly. It was easy, and write your own songs. And they had the anthems like Kiss, like, hey, ho, let's go. Like it had that gang chanting thing. It was a gang kind of. And then the Clash, just, that really was an education because they mixed all kinds of different music together, different cultures. They sang about things that were going on in, other parts of the world or in my world or in the government. But they didn't make it really feel like you were being preached at. It was done with style and humor and fun, but yet there was a message and global
Right.
unity and breaking down walls and being open to different rhythms and cultures and attitudes. And it stayed with me that, as I travel and tour the world, and I hope to get back to it, that wherever you go, that music is the international heartbeat. It's, when I say to the audience, I say, this is about global unity. We are the doctors without borders. Like music brings us together. Forget your football teams and your politics and religion. Like us here in this room, let's just be together and be unified with that.
Amen, brother. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I had a similar path. I went from Barry Manilow to the Who, so I get the Croce into the Who and all that other stuff. So, but it's amazing how certain parts of your life, music starts to direct you, and you feel different things at certain times. So, it just was great. And I know, like today, we have I know me and Julie are a big fan of Gaslight Anthem, which I know that you're also a big fan of as well, and I think they're carrying that torch as well, today.
Absolutely.
And I mean, great.
It's really about the songs. I heard Mandy by Barry Manilow the other day, and I know I'm a lot more sensitive and vulnerable, but I started to cry a little at the line, "You came and you gave without taking, and I pushed you away," or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's great. I don't think he wrote it, though. I looked it up. I was like, really? He wrote like, I'm stuck on Band-Aids and the Coca-Cola is the real thing. But talented. But yeah, if whatever hits you here, some of these things, I love Sam Cooke. I did when I was a little kid, and then I didn't realize it was so cool as you got, it's however it speaks to you. And it's really, I say this, it's been the medicine for me so much through this, because my days have been tough, getting so much taken away, but having music and not even playing beyond that, of course, that means so much to create and play with other people, but to listen, I still can sit here in my apartment or go to a show, and it can change me, so.
Jesse, I have to tell you something that my friend Norm just put in here, and I can attest to this because I was there. So we ran into Willie Nile last week before Light of Day at a restaurant upstairs, and Willie said to Norm, Silver Manhattan was the best show that he's ever seen in his 80 years, almost 80 years on the planet.
Wow. I didn't pay him for that either.
That was unprovoked. That was unprovoked. That was totally on his own.
Yeah, he had just seen it. He saw the last one at Gramercy. Wow, that means a lot.
Well, I think I think I don't know if you know. I mean, I hope you know that we've gotten to see you over the years. Many of the group. A lot of people that are watching. We've seen you over the years, and you're, I mean, really a truly inspirational artist in a lot of ways in your music and what you've been through and what you've come back from, and it's really inspiring in a lot of ways. I've seen your shows. We've seen your shows since you've come back. You know, whether it been Light of Day, whether it been your own solo stuff, and I just want you to know that the same way we feel about Bruce and Spring Nuts or whatever. You are a very big inspiration in a lot of ways to many people out there, and I hope you know that. It's very important for you. If you haven't been told that, I'm sure you have. I want to tell it to you. So,
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, what we're trying to also do with the show is to put back into that world of like people going through something hard and finding ways to transcend that and to get through it and not feel fatalist, and that you can always probably do more than you think, and that attitude is so much a part of it, and just to keep going, like that Winston Churchill quote or whatever, if you're going through hell, keep going. But yeah, I don't know, it just goes around. I mean, you guys inspire me, just talking, like it's what we all do together. The records, Bruce inspired me, and we just go, you give it back. But thank you. I mean, and I guess I'm doing something, because you always hope that if you're doing something privately and you can bring it out there, that it connects with somebody on some level, and that's worth more than any paycheck or anything. It's it's everything.
you definitely are. And from a Springbutt point of view, I like to say this, in general, that I wanted to thank you for all your support that you have given, me, Julie, the group. Even way back when, I remember when it was Bruce's birthday, his 70th birthday, and I said, we're going to be doing this big video. It was the first time I had some contact with you. And I said, and all I said to you was like, look, Jesse, we're putting up this video for Bruce, and if you just want to say something. Not only did you, again, we didn't know each other at the time, but the thing is that not only did you do something, you sent us a video of you performing Hungry Heart. I don't know if you remember, but I have it.
It was kind of around lockdown time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it was like, okay, well, yeah, and it shows you just the type of person. So you just didn't mail it in. I just needed you to say, happy birthday, Bruce, blah, blah, blah. Like, get a lot of you sent me a whole performance of Hungry Heart with a band. And I appreciate it. And all the video, even the one we just did for the 10-year anniversary of Spring Nuts, you sent us something really cool. And I want to thank you for all that support. And if there's anything that we always can do for you, we are in your corner 1000% at all times.
Well, my pleasure to do that stuff, and thank you guys for all the support of the music and the shows at the Pony, and just posting about, spreading the word. Really, it's appreciated big time.
And before we forget,
I want to say one thing also.
Oh, Julie. Go ahead, Julie.
I'm allowed to talk. Thank you.
Good shirt, Julie.
I forgot what I was going to say now. No. So I can totally relate to that whole, like, you don't want to be the person that's getting the help, and you don't want to be the person that, people are doing things for and everything. I've gone through breast cancer, all kinds of junk like that. And I get that. But you have to remember inside somewhere in your head what you've done for all of us that makes everybody want to give back to you. Just don't forget that. Okay.
I want to get a swell head here. So you guys are so kind.
Let it swell. Okay. You're more than a mensch, and we've all loved you for years, and just take it. That's life. You know what I mean? It's the back and forth. That's the beauty of it. Okay.
I like that. All right. Well, I'm going to have to go soon, but I want to ask you guys each a question. I want everybody, if you can, tell me your favorite Bruce song, if you could pick one. Is that?
Wow, you turned it on us.
Wow.
Well, mine, everybody knows mine. It's Thundercrack.
Okay, wow. I just heard that recently, but again, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
he whipped it out at See Here Now. That was insane. It was just mind blowing.
Mine is Racing in the Street.
Me
Um,
too.
and that's my favorite classic, but recently, which has taken on many meanings because it's also the mantra of this group, is Land of Hope and Dreams. But those are the two I pick. I know it's two, but Ryan
What
and
about
Steve.
Stan there?
Meeting Across the River. Change your
Wow.
shirt because tonight we got style. And before Ryan gives his, before we forget, happy birthday to you. We're getting a lot of comments. I think it's tomorrow is your birthday,
Yeah. Oh,
correct?
thank
So
you.
Happy birthday.
a lot of people are saying happy birthday to make sure
Oh,
we say that to you.
thank you.
What are you, 19?
There's a 9 involved.
Jesse, for
Ryan?
me, it's Land of Hope and Dreams. I think it just all sums up everything that Bruce stands for and what his music means to me. And I love the fact that it's based on the old, This Train folk song. And he flipped it on its head. It was like, this train doesn't carry gamblers. This train doesn't carry sinners.
Mm,
Bruce wanted it to include everybody. He wants winners and losers. He wants
All on the
everybody.
trade. Yeah.
Yeah. So
right.
that
I
it
love
sums it
the
all up for me.
mandolin on that song. I love
Dun, dun, dun,
Stevie.
dun,
Yeah,
Mm.
it's so cool.
I got so lucky on the last tour. Like, that's my song. It has been for years. And twice I took my son to see one show and I took my daughter to see another show. And each time I was there, I looked down and I saw Stevie's guitar tech handing them the mandolin. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
So
You see that?
racing is yours, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean it's hard, it could
I
change on days, different
yeah.
days. But if I had to pick one, it's a movie. It's just everything: friendship, romance. Just yeah, and the detail. Like some guys come home from work and washed
Yeah.
up.
Hmm.
It's like and that the heartbreaking. She stares out alone into the night with the eyes of one who hates her just being born.
That's crazy.
But
I can hear you covering that song. I can definitely hear you covering that song.
yeah, there's just so many good ones. I did Hungry Heart because I think it was the only thing left on the list by the time they asked me. But I also connected to it because I'd heard that Bruce had written it for the Ramones, and I
Right.
didn't know that really. Joey had kind of mentioned it, but eventually Bruce did speak about it on the Greatest Hits, and then how Landau said keep it, and it became a hit.
Thank
Good
God.
work, yeah, because being a good manager. Yeah, that's funny. Meeting Across the River. I became friends with Pete Yorn when my first solo album came out. He was on Columbia Records, great singer songwriter, and we would talk about Bruce. And I got him to do Light of Day one year, and he came to. I think it was in not the Pony. It was in a different spot.
Darlin Ballroom.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. And so then we're around similar age. I think I'm a little older, but we grew up with certain movies, and we'll quote lines from Caddyshack, Chevy Chase, be the ball, and he'll send me little texts. And then we would text each other like we both love Bruce. Like, he just texts me like over the years when phone texting became a thing, like change your shirt, like like that. And now to this day, it's gone on, and he just sometimes just texts me out of the blue, change it. And I know what it means. It's at a meeting.
Yeah.
But I always thought this is the last thing I'll babble with, but I always thought that the line in that song, like "put this in your pocket and act like you're carrying a gun," which could be from so many things, but I always think of The Godfather when he's standing outside guarding. I thought maybe that somehow, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get to ask Bruce all these things, but sometimes I try to make a mental note. I'm like, I want to ask him something. I got to remember when I see him, and he enjoys it usually. Like, all right, you met Joe Strummer of the Clash. Where was it? What period? What were you like? And then you find out. But yeah, it's all cool. It's all connected.
Yep.
Jesse,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
And hopefully we'll hang in person. I feel like I know you guys a little bit more now.
Yeah, I'll see you in August for sure in the Red Bank at the Vogel.
Okay.
We'll see
Thank
in
you,
February.
Jesse.
Yeah.
I was already looking up tickets as you were speaking. So
All
we'll
right.
see
Yeah,
in
it's on
February.
Ticketmaster, but don't tell Eddie Vedder. All right. So.
Right.
Oh boy. All
Well,
right. Well,
Thank you, Jesse.
everybody stay
Thank
warm
you.
on the East
Thank you.
Coast. Stay out of
Thank
trouble.
you,
or whatever.
Jesse. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for having
Happy
me.
birthday.
Happy
All right.
birthday.
Well,
Happy birthday.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Guys, thank you for joining us.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, everybody out there for watching. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.